Hey, this is Frank with the fourth video in our How to Make Brainwave Music and Hypnosis MP3 course. And what you see on the screen is the workspace for Audacity, an open source audio editor. Again, it's free, and I've been using it since 2005, so I've been using it for about 9 years. And that means I've used it across different operating systems and different computers, and I found it to be very stable and versatile. And I've learned how to use it pretty quickly, and it is what I use to produce all my MP3s. So I highly recommend getting it. The link is going to be underneath the description for this video. What we're going to do here is import the binaural beat and isochronic tone file that we created in the last video and build an actual relaxation MP3. So here we go. I'm going to take my mouse and go up to the File menu, come down to Import, and click on Audio. This opens the folder that I created for this special course, and again, we named it Demo Binaural Isochronic. I'm going to click on it, and you see, because it's a short file, it loads pretty quickly. Now, one of the things you'll see is the size of the blue line is, for lack of a better term, the volume. I'm going to play it. Now, the volume that you use in Gnaural is going to determine how loud it is in the resulting import into Audacity. So it's very important to lower the volume in Gnaural in order to create something that isn't overpowering in Audacity. I hope that makes sense. But now, because so many of you like to listen to brainwave music or hypnosis with music, personally I find that listening to binaural beats and isochronic tones by themselves can become a little monotonous. So what people like myself do is mask the brainwave tones with music. And so what I'm going to do now is go up to File and Import Audio again, and this time I'm going to actually import music. In this case, something I created for a different course called Self-Hypnosis Background Track Number 1. It's just some royalty-free music I purchased several years ago. And it'll show up any second. And the computer is spinning. I think this one is actually 30 minutes long, which gives us an opportunity to use some of the features in Audacity. Let's see if it actually ever shows up. There it is. So now you see the difference in the size of the wave form is really pretty significant. So we're going to have to play with some volume levels to get it where we want it to be. But first, I want to show you how to edit for length in Audacity. I'm going to the music track, going to the end of it, clicking on it with the mouse, and dragging it to the end of the brainwave track. And you see it aligns rather nicely. Now what I can do is go up to Scissors, here where my mouse is, and cut it. And now we have a 15-minute track. Very cool. To make it a little bit more complicated, and I think interesting, I want to add yet another track. So now I'm going to go up to Tracks and add New, and add Stereo, and we create yet a third track. And what I want to do here is highlight the entire 15 minutes, go back up to Generate Noise, and we're going to generate pink noise. And this takes a few seconds. I like using pink noise in brainwave music and hypnosis tracks because it adds a little variety and can distract you from, particularly in the hypnosis tracks, from some imperfections in the narration, which, if I'm doing them, those are my fault. But I do find that pink noise helps cover up some errors that I make in narration, and just makes for an overall more pleasant experience. Now, Another cool thing in Audacity is that we can look at all three tracks at the same time. You see, as I added the two tracks, the first one got pushed out of the way. We do have three stereo tracks, but I can do two things. One, I can go up to View and Fit in Window, which is going to change the horizontal. Okay, so now the whole track from left to right is visible. What I also want to do is fit it vertically, which now allows us to see all three tracks. So we have binaural beats and isochronic tones, we have some music, and we have some pink noise. I don't think it's going to sound very good at first, but let's check it out. Okay, clearly the pink noise is too loud. So I go to this slider here, which is the volume for each individual track. And I'm going to bring it all the way down to about 22. I also want to bring down the binaural beat and isochronic tone to about 7. I'm just guessing, actually. I didn't do a dry run of this, but I have been working with this for a while. I think the music's is actually a little loud too, so I want to bring that down. Okay, so what you can see there is a couple things. It's getting closer to a final product already, and you can still hear the binaural beat. So I'm going to want to lower that volume a little bit more, down to about 13. And there's also a little trick. You want to use fade in and fade out on these kinds of tracks, and I'll show you why. I'm going to highlight this track using my mouse and then go up here and zoom in. And you're going to see something. The music track that I imported, I had previously produced and had previously used the fade in function in Audacity to create a nice gentle introduction. So I want to do the same thing with the binaural beats because I don't want it to be that abrupt. Generally, what I do is I do a 5-second fade in and a 5-second fade out. So I click on 5 seconds, drag it to the beginning. Now I go up to Effect and Fade in. And you see what happened. It created a nice little fade in that matches the music. I want to do the same thing for the pink noise. Drag it to the beginning, go back up to Effect, Fade in. So now I have 3 tracks that are essentially pretty well matched. And that's actually kind of beautiful. That is really where I want it to be. The music's still a little loud. Bring that down to 7, which means I want to bring down the binaural and isochronic a little bit. Pink noise, don't really need to do much with that. So in the beginning, we have the 3 tracks. They're fading in. Very nice. They're all 15 minutes long. I want to go to the end by using the scroll and do the same thing at the end. You see, when I imported the music, it was originally a 30-minute track, so I just kind of, amputated 15 minutes. And so that's going to be a very abrupt ending. And if you've got the MP3 on repeat on your iPod or, Android or whatever you're using, it's very abrupt. And if you're in a meditative state of mind, it's unpleasant as well. So this is a cool function. You take your mouse from the lowest track and you come all the way up and you can select all 3 tracks at once. And what I'm going to do is select about 5 seconds. Now I know it's 5 seconds because I know Audacity. And that is, as I was dragging and created this, purplish area, I was looking at this center display, which tells me the selection length, and it's 5 seconds. So I can actually fade out all 3 tracks at the same time by going back up to Effect and fading out. Very nice. Now, I want you to see what the tracks look like from 0 to 15 minutes. And I do that by going back up to View and back to Fit in Window. And what we see is a 15-minute, 3-track program that is pretty cool. It's got the binaural beats that will take your mind into a relaxed state. It's got the music that, I personally owned. I purchased that about 5 years ago when I started doing this work. And then finally, we've got the pink noise, which is a personal preference. I like it. Now, on more complicated tracks, I add things like water or Tibetan bells or thunder. It's really, there's no limit. The limit is how much free time you have on your hands and how much you want to do. But this 4-video course was meant to just produce a single track that showed you how to do it from beginning to end. To review, brainwave music is basically embedded tones inside soundtracks that can guide your brain into one of 4 states: deep sleep, deep meditation, which can be used for hypnosis, relaxation, which can be used for creativity, and high focus, which can be used for students or anybody studying for exams or, just in school trying to learn something. Maybe you're working late and are tired of drinking a case of Red Bull. You can actually use the beta brainwaves to keep yourself alert. It's very, very cool. Now, finally, we've got these 3 tracks, and knowing Audacity the way I do, I know that it is still in project form. So we want to take it into an MP3 form. Now, this is one thing I haven't covered in this video. I will actually put it in the notes. You have to download 2 programs. You have to download Audacity as well as something called LAME, which is the MP3 export converter that comes alongside Audacity. It's not included, and if you try and export to MP3 without downloading this second program, you will become frustrated and think that I don't know what I'm talking about. But I do. And when you have both of these programs, you can create MP3s. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go back up to File, and we're going to Export. Okay? Now this is taking me to a different folder. I want to take it to my How to Make Brainwave Music and Hypnosis demonstration folder. And I want to name it something different. This is something you're going to learn about audio file management. You really need to think about your filing or your naming. I should actually bring that up a little bit. You want to think about how you name things. So I want to call this the demo relaxation final. How about that? And this is going to create an MP3. I'll bring this over here so you can see it on the screen and click Save. Now, this is the metadata left over from another program. Audacity will remember the last program I made. So this is going to be demo relax, demo relax. Oops. Demo relax, and here we go. Now, one of the reasons this is going so slow on my computer is that I am overloaded with audio files. If you have a newer computer, mine's about 2.5 years old, or one that is less burdened by stuff, it will go a little faster. I'm going to have to do something about that. Either get like a terabyte external drive or start deleting some files, what have you. But I think what I'm talking about is not unknown to most of the people who've watched this to the end. So I'm actually going to let it export all the way and then reopen it in Audacity for you to listen to. Okay, not too bad. It took a minute to process that. Now, if I were producing this for any other reason besides demonstration purposes, I would want to save the project as well. Actually, that brings to point an interesting story. There was like some rapper who lost his hard drive with his project files. Somebody returned it Well, they returned some of the files, but they returned the MP3s, the general public didn't understand why he was still upset. His stolen goods had gotten returned to him, but they were unusable because the MP3s were returned, not the project files. The project files contain these separate tracks which can be further manipulated. So the MP3s, if they weren't finished, were really unusable to him as a musician because he couldn't do anything with them. So you'll see Audacity saves as a .aup file. I can keep it, demo, binaural, isochronic. That's also going to take a few seconds. And on the last point, let me open the demo relaxation final file in MP3 format to show you what I mean. Oh, Frankie needs a new computer. It's going a little too long, but that's okay. Okay, so here we go, and you can see what I was talking about when I said that an MP3 file is essentially mixed down into one file. So going back to that rapper, whose name I do not know, he was upset when someone returned his MP3s because they were unusable. You can see that I can't do anything with this file but listen to it, which is our concern. But now let me show you the other. The original is, again, those 3 tracks that we just did. And I did it, I think, in about 25 minutes for demonstration purposes. So that's all you really need to do. You come up here. Remember, in Gnaural, we created the binaural beat and isochronic tone. We imported some music. I generated some pink noise. And then what I did was I exported it to an MP3 that mixed it down into this one file. And I'm going to play it. And you can hear that it works quite nicely. The fade in is nice. The music, I personally like this kind of music. And if you're listening with headphones, and if I had played the whole track, you might hear at the edges of your aural range, you might hear a little bit of the binaural beat or isochronic tone, but it doesn't really matter because your brain is picking it up. You do not have to subject yourself to the droning sound of either of those kind of frequencies. If you embed them in a music track, you will get the benefits, and that's what makes them so enjoyable. I tell you, thank you for watching this, and thank you for subscribing. I decided to make this series as I was closing in on 1,000 subscribers. I'm like, wow, this is so cool. These people are cool. They like it. So this is really my version of a gift. I wanted to do something to just show you how it's made and how I do it and how you can do it. It's so simple. It's two open source software programs, a little bit of, clickety-click inside the programs, and you can create your own MP3s. What I would suggest is go hunting for some cool background music. I purchased a big package of ambient music some time ago, but you can make your own in GarageBand or Mixcraft 6 or any kind of music generators that are out there on the internet. So have some fun. I hope you've enjoyed this, and just keep listening. I've got some more hypnosis programs coming, and I really appreciate you and your comments and your subscriptions. Have a great, great time with this material.